Taylor, you know what it is. Their concert was, so say I work 2 hours that day, I'm automatically getting paid for 4.
Do not ever be late for any production.
I felt like the Master
The
Chief when I was up
Spartan
there.
laser?
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
And
That's
lose
cool.
your vert with my Spartan laser, man. That's awesome.
Thanks for joining us, guys. This is a little program called Real Talk. We are going to be talking about the video production industry, demystifying the industry a little bit for people who are interested in learning more about it or interested in participating in it. And I'm sitting with Isaiah Hein. He is my very good friend. He's been working on a lot of local productions, live event productions, and we're going to talk about the industry. And I'm going to ask him some questions, and hopefully he can shed some light on some of the parts of the industry that we don't really understand. So thank you, Isaiah,
Thank you for having
joining us today.
Appreciate it.
We've been friends for quite a while, and he's been working in some live events. So tell us, Isaiah, what do you do for a living? What is the actual title of what you do?
Well, my occupation is called stagehand. I work for our local 5 union, which is our the union that controls the majority of stagehand and live events that go across America.
Okay, so you said that was what 5?
Local 5.
Local 5. Okay, so Local 5 is kind of like a union that just does all like live events.
We do anything from comedy to music artists to outdoor live events. We do a lot, actually. I'm actually quite surprised. Even we're actually right now during the off season. I also know we are also a little bit into sports broadcasting because we do the Cyclones games. We'll videotape for them.
Okay, nice. So how did you get started in that?
Well, I had a very irregular way of getting into this union. I would kind of say 50-50 like referral, 50-50 kind of backdoored my way into this job, honestly. It all started back in like 2019. I just dropped out of college because I wasn't excited about what I was doing at the time. And my friends had actually told me about this job before.
What was your major?
My major beforehand. Business administration. So
Yeah.
very different from what I thought I was pursuing my life goals at the time. So yeah, I had 2 friends who were already established in the union. They had been working actually since leaving high school. So they had been there for a long time. They knew a lot of people, and they almost, I wouldn't say they were grandfathered in, but like the people that knew them loved them so much because they were just hard workers, diligent, very
So they
integral
worked
people.
towards in that industry, and you were referred to it. And then what was like the first thing you did?
The first thing I did was my friend told me that I should go up to their actual hiring office and I should put my application in. And then he told me, listen, man, they're not going to get you back immediately after application. I was like, okay. He's like, if you really want to work in this industry, you are going to have to text. And this is crazy, but you're going to have to text this man who is, he's our call steward. He gives out the jobs that will allow us to go and work for the local 5.
What was his position?
Call steward. So basically,
Steward.
yeah.
Okay.
So, well, steward is like a big title that just goes to anything. Like when you get to the site for the job, you have to report to your stew. That's how they know you're there. That's basically like your clock in.
Okay.
So he told me like, if you really want this job, like, cause it pays good, and I think it'd be really good for you to get your skills up and involved. He said, you're gonna have to show some initiative. So I still find this funny to this day. Like 6 months straight, I text this man like, hey, do you have any work? Hey, do you have any work? And every single day he would text me back, no. Sometimes I wouldn't even deign a response. Like it was just like, it almost got out of hand. Like I'd text him like
Wow.
7 times in a week, and he was like, just no. And then just one day, like it was out of the blue. I was working at a part-time job at a country club, and he just texted me like, hey, need you tomorrow for such and such event over at the arena. I forget now. It might have been, God, it's been so long I can't even remember my first show, but I want to believe it was a rock concert.
So in that time, how long ago was that? Was it 2019? You said?
Yeah, that was like 2019 pre-COVID. So I got in just before COVID hit, and that's
Okay.
when they really shut us down.
So in the meantime, let's take a wide scope of your career. What are some of the cool concerts that you've worked on? Like what have you done so far?
My favorite concert so far that I got to work because I got to run Spotlight for him was Little Uzi Vert.
Lil Uzi Vert.
And
Okay.
I won't hold you. That really, it was this year, but like, it really made me appreciate the business more because I'd never been given the opportunity to run the spot before. And
Okay.
like, it was in the heat of the moment. Like I had already. The funny thing was I had bought tickets for that concert because
Oh,
I wanted to go see him. Like, oh, I'm gonna work the show. I'm gonna get to see him like backstage, and then I get to go watch the show like in the bleachers. I was like, cool. And then next thing I know, my call steward comes in like, Isaiah, you wanna work Spotlight this evening? Because all the so here's the rub. So the only reason you will get like that type of position is because it's a trickle down effect. So work is always handed to the card holders, who are the people that are like established. It's all about seniority.
okay.
So with me being like under senior, I will not usually get that type of position. But
But
if they
was it
say
calling
no,
sick or?
no, well they can say because they'll say no. Like they don't. Oh, I don't like rap concerts. I don't want to work that. I'll give the spotlight
wow.
position to someone else. So, yeah, like they've worked in the industry so long that they like who they want when they come in town and they'll run spot. But like outside of that, they usually leave us to the younger guys to take on that role in that position. I've worked for 50 Cent. Shout out to 50.
Wow.
I got to work under Kiss, Roger Waters, some great musical talent.
I
man.
mean, you didn't mention Taylor Swift. That you worked on that, right?
I did work Taylor Swift.
Okay.
I don't like to mention Taylor because Taylor, you know what it is. Your concert was just too much, girl. I'm sorry to say.
It was rough.
Oh, dude, it was probably one of the roughest work experiences I've had in my entire life.
Wow, really?
Yes. Yeah, I in one single week I clocked in 80 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's because of just how elaborate the setup is.
Yes,
and-
it was like she had multiple video walls. She had extending stages, elevators that would rise up underneath the stage and reveal her. She had high wire lines going all across Paycor Stadium. She had lighting truss everywhere. I couldn't believe how many lighting truss we had set up by the end of it. We even had to, because this is for these big concerts, we'll also bring in other unions like the Iron Workers Union. So we're working alongside these guys while we're constructing the big outdoor setup of it, basically where all the stage pieces are going to connect to. So it was just like first day comes in, we're offloading trucks, and by the end of it, I think we offloaded about over 120 trucks. I'm talking full semis. They're going into the stadium, they're parking. We got people like it's all happening concurrently. So when you look at it,
120 trucks.
120 semi trucks.
Yeah, how many people are unloading that?
So you'll probably have 5 loaders per those trucks. It depends. Usually they'll have 20 trucks in the stadium at a time because you don't want to put too many trucks in the stadium. Otherwise, you're gonna have issues with them getting, traffic flow and all that. And it looks like a big mess. It looks like a bunch of ants running around. I'm not gonna hold you, but it's like the same way that you see an ant colony and all these ants are working together. They're all working together for a single goal.
Very
So.
So okay, so that's cool. I'm glad we got your your resume because I just wanted to show everybody that like this guy has worked on like a lot of cool stuff and he's like he's legit worked on these sets. So let's rewind a little bit and go back to like your early days of just starting out. So you're a stagehand and you're just messaging this guy like all the time, like messaging him, and then you finally get on a crew. What does your work consist of, like when you first get on? And then I'm also interested in saying like inquiring about like the spotlighting part that you did, but just when you first started out, like what kind of like you arrive to the shoot or the event, what goes on?
You arrive at the time he's designated for you. In this case, it was like at arena, like 8 a.m., I believe. Met with my on-site stew, got to know him, and then he said, fall in line. So the first thing you're doing is everyone at the beginning of the day is offloading trucks because you need to get everything off of it first before we can even think about what we're setting up.
Okay, yeah.
And I just remember like being put in line, and it was a very nerve-wracking experience because not a lot of people were talking originally. Like now I can say that there's change after me being there for multiple years, but like initially you go in and it's just like dead silent. No one else is talking, maybe outside of a couple of the older guys who've been there long enough, but it's just you. And you're like, oh God. And like you're kind of like a little intimidated by it because it's like, am I gonna be able to do this work? And you're for the most part, you're getting these boxes out the truck, offloading their production cases, offloading their lighting equipment, offloading their stage equipment if they need
And
it.
you don't know what anything is.
At this point, I couldn't tell you nothing from anything. I couldn't tell you the difference between a lighting truss and a freaking video wall truss or how this all works together. I couldn't tell you what plugins you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do.
So let's talk about that a little bit. You said lighting, like, is it trust? Is that?
Yeah. So, trust, TRSUST. Trust.
Okay. So what is that?
So there are these trusts are basically what we allow us to put our lighting equipment and our video wall equipment onto. They're these big metal.
Okay. I think everybody's have seen that before. I just don't think like we just know it's
Yeah,
called
you've
a
probably
truss.
seen it like from a couple movies or so. You're like,
Like the
oh,
big steel thing with rebar and like,
yeah, the cross sections, everything. Yeah. So those will go up to our rig points, which we outside of having our loading crew, we also have our riggers who are they get like separate like type of treatment because they're in a more specialized type of field for our union. So
So
they
they're
will,
kind of like above the stagehands.
I wouldn't say they're exactly above, but the work that they do is a lot more strenuous and requires like a lot more qualifications. Like I got into it this year, and like what they really want you to do is they want you to get used to the business, used to the work before they actually send you up there by yourself. And I had that experience, which we can talk to at a later point. But yeah, what they do is they don't unload trucks with. They immediately go up to the roof and get ready for whatever we're gonna push out to them.
Okay, so like, how are you building these trusts? Like, how do they
Well,
mount to the rigging points? I'm assuming, or
Well, first they get the floor design because they want to know what their measurements are from each point, and then they basically will chalk out these each points of like. So there's like it's weird because we kind of have our own language of how we communicate what they want in certain spots. So like we have our upriggers and we have our ground riggers. So our ground riggers will mark these points with like a circle or a square or whatever, and this will be like, oh, we need this type of equipment for this truss system to go up or to get it properly placed, and this is the angle it's going to go at. And they'll constantly be communicating with each other as well with us pushing in the equipment so it can get set up. Because before we have the stage go up, the lighting needs to go up. Because otherwise, it's just going to be in our way for our carpenter teams.
okay. So I'm just imagining how this is working. So you guys are unloading and probably staging things in certain areas.
Yep.
And where does it go from there?
So pretty much after, they'll like parse you out, like they'll space you out in between, but mainly the closer they get to the finish of the load in, which is what we call our morning shift, they'll start to sparse you out into different groups. And my first day, I want to say I believe I was on carpentry team, which is the more like grounded position for people who don't know the industry so well.
Okay.
And like my involvement that first day was building decks. And let me say, it was an interesting experience to say for my first.
Was it rough? Or?
Ooh, it was very strenuous because like you're setting up at least I want to say like a 20 by 30 stage, so 20 feet by 30 feet, and you have to set up these metal points because like it's all gonna get covered with fascia so that the crowd can't see because most of the time once we get done with the morning they'll push all their production gear underneath the stage to hide it from the crowd, or they'll push it backstage. But in this instance, they had brought their own stage equipment, so they wanted us to build the stage, and then afterwards they'd put their stuff underneath. So my first
So it's
day
like
was
skirted, I guess.
yeah, it'll be skirted all the way around, and usually that's I want to say that was something I did on the first day. I think they probably put that off to a different crew, but I just remember you get a 4-man team. They'll have you get these big decks, which are probably I want to say like a 4x6, and ooh, my bad. And yeah, so it's a big team effort. So you're constantly going. You think you finished one pile, you're on the next one, and the next thing you know, you're setting up stairs for the side of it so the artist can walk up, and then after that, usually, even if you do get finished with your work, you're still on for the call because you're not done for the day. You're not finished until everything's set up and looks pretty. So once we had got done setting up the stage, I was immediately sparsed out to a different group. Yeah.
So is carpentry something that people will do full time as a position, or is it
They most
something
definitely
they
can.
reserve for like grunt work for like if you're just starting out, they'll kind of just throw you to do that? Or?
Well, they'll throw everything at you. Like it's a gauntlet, especially for somebody who doesn't know. It's going to be a gauntlet the first week.
So you're doing a little bit of everything sometimes?
I'll do like in my first year alone, like the first day was just carpentry, but I believe like the next time I came, they had me on lighting, and then the next day after that, they had me on audio. The next day after that, they had me on video. Next day after that, they had me on props.
Is that all of the positions that you've worked, or is there a little bit more? Because you said you did spotlighting, so is spotlighting.
Outside of that,
Is the pay different for all those as well?
the pay only differs when you go to a different venue. So if you work a stadium call, you'll get paid the most because those are obviously they're going to be filling the most seats. So they're gonna pay you more for that. But
So
like,
there's a correlation between how big the concert is and how much you get paid.
yeah, almost. See, the thing is with being a union, we set our contracts like I want to say it's either every bi-yearly type of thing or every annual we'll re-update our contract. Like I know this year with it's actually very exciting with Riverbend getting its whole renovation design. They're actually updating our contract for Riverbend, so we might see a difference of pay coming into whenever that renovation project gets done.
I'm imagining the project, and if you're okay to talk finances, because that would help a lot of people
Of
understand
course.
this.
Yeah.
I'm imagining what you would have gotten paid for the most with would be the Taylor Swift concert.
Oh, dude, Taylor paid me out. Taylor paid me out.
Okay.
I will say
And
that.
you said you worked like 80 hours overtime?
Yeah. And then, well, the funny thing was, so we have a certain contractual objects where when we go past a certain time, they actually have to pay us double time.
Okay. And that's past what, like 40?
Well, not like no, this is not hourly set. This is like say you started at 8 and it goes past midnight, you will get paid double time. So any hour after midnight, you get paid double time.
Oh, okay. So that's how it works. Any hour after midnight.
Yep.
Okay. Are you always going to get there at like 8 a.m.? Has that been the
It
standard?
depends. Like sometimes, because there's a weird disparity sometimes where my call steward will text me like, "Oh, be back at this time," but then my on-site steward will be like, "All right, I won't need you guys till this time," and then usually you just report to whoever gave you the most updated information at the time, which usually will be your on-site.
So
steward.
regardless of what time you show up after midnight, it still applies?
Yes.
Wow, okay. Very cool. So Taylor Swift, I would imagine that's the biggest one with the most money you've worked on. What would be an example of a smaller one? And what were the paycheck similarities or disparities, rather?
So like we'll work like a call like that, and then like you'll get a call for some like simple, like you'll just be going over to TQL to help them set up with their banner system, and that's like you'll still get paid the pay that you got at Taylor, but since you're not going to be hitting too many hours, you're going to see a lot less of a paycheck.
So it's TQL Stadium.
Yeah.
For FC.
Yeah.
And the banner system, that is, I'm guessing, like the big screens.
No. So like you know the banners that they have hang from the Raptors, we will actually pull those up for the live event. So, you know, they had this behind the they had this up on this catwalk. They have this pretty much a rigging system, and they'll attach these banners. Like we'll go out, get these long poles, put them through the banners, and then we'll string them up. And then we'll go to the front while they watch to see how they're elevating at the same time to make sure it all comes out straight. Because this is going to be on a live event, so you got to make sure it looks great.
Yeah.
So we'll go up to that catwalk. We'll
How many people are on that call?
I would say anywhere from, sometimes our crew gets cut down to the last minute because other venues require more people and they might be like just more needed or necessity at that time. But like I think when we worked that, it was between 20 to 30 people.
Really?
Yeah, because you have to. Well, these things are, they're not no joke, man. They're like, it's like you're on a rope line because you have to pull it up, and you have to look at three other rope lines or two other rope lines. My bad, because there's three to pull up one banner, and it'll be like 3 person per rope. You have me at the top, you have one holding the midsection, and one at the back, getting as much as possible.
Wow.
Because those things are they're an ass.
So it's like legit construction work almost.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty much.
For sure.
So how long would something like that take?
Are you talking about the entire process of getting the banners up?
Well, you said so this is like a smaller call, like TQL, replacing the banners. Is that like an all day thing?
No. So we have a minimum set of hours that that you will automatically get paid for. So say I work 2 hours that day, I'm automatically getting paid for 4. Even though I only work 2, it's in my contract that I get paid for a minimum of 4 hours. But that only includes the start of your day.
So and you get paid hourly, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So what would the hourly for TQL be, and what was the hourly for Taylor?
Same, 36 an hour.
It was the same for both.
Yeah, same for both. You're just not
You're just not getting as many hours.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
And you're not going over like certain time constraints to where they have to pay you that overtime work. Let me not try to like put smoke on the water. We have different pay rates for different venues. So like at Riverbend, you'll make the least amount of money, but you will get the most amount of hours because you'll
Now-
probably be there all day.
Is that known in the industry, or is that kind of like an industry secret?
I'd have to say it's a little bit of both. Like, you don't necessarily know.
It's not obvious.
No. Like, you'll ask, like, I
But
remember.
if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. If you know, you know. But, like, the thing is, I remember, like, the first day working, I was like, does anyone know how much we're getting paid? And I, like, from 5 different people, I heard, like, oh, we're getting paid 28, or oh, we're getting paid 32, or oh, we're getting paid 26. And I'm like, dude, what's the number? And, like, and then I asked my call story, he's like, and most of the time, if you're upfront with your boss, he'll be honest about an answer, and he gave me like the correct answer. It was like, you're getting paid 36 to be here today, since it was a stadium call. So I was like, all right, bet. But yeah, it's not really known because we don't specify that. They don't specify pay on the website, or the funny thing is, like, I think I finally was able to learn like what the actual pay scales were for each venue this year, because they sent out a memorandum because so many people were asking about our pay scales and how does it work, and
Okay.
when is overtime getting added.
So they have informed the staff. So now
Yes, but let me be honest, it took like 4 years after the fact when I first joined, so it took me like 4 years to get that type of information. So I will say it's very much shrouded unless you know who you're talking to and if they actually know what they're talking about.
Okay. So okay. So let's rewind again. This has been really good so far. We've been really diving into it, and I'm glad. So you were you were asking this guy every day or however long, like, you got work for me? Do you got work for me? And then you finally got your first opportunity. So how long from that point did it take for you to become like a more trusted person for them to like be like, hey, like, Isaiah, you want to come work this? Is that something that's still like to this day, like you're trying to build that rapport, or is it something where they're consistently getting back to you about work now?
I would say nowadays they're more consistently getting back to me versus when I first started out. And I had a bunch of issues first starting out. Like, it's just, I had the big issue with like consistency of being tardy. That was something that really I struggled with, and which led actually to a very long prolapse of not having work because I had missed a certain show call that I was supposed to be on. Yeah. So
but you came back from that.
I did come back from that, thankfully enough, because I had such a great rapport with my co-stu, and a lot of people that he is close with into the union itself, and they knew my type of character, and they just saw through like, hey, like, kick his ass, give him, cut him off from work for a bit, see how he feels about it, and then, bring him back in. And I think that was one of my biggest struggles, was just being on time and constantly trying to make sure that I don't miss any of these type of dates.
Yeah, let me go ahead and emphasize that what they told us in school, and Nick in the room can attest to this, is if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Mm-hmm. Do not ever be late for any production, live event, TV, film, any production. Do not be late for it, because on time is everything. Time is money when it comes to this stuff, and I'm
really
sure it throws too many wrenches in the whole thing if you're late. So, but I'm really glad that you came back from that, and I'm glad that you came around and started becoming more consistent with it, because that is, I mean, if you're a young adult, these are the types of problems that you're going to run into, right? Like, you're in this new industry, you have your own stuff going on in your own personal life, everything's real chaotic. This stuff's going to happen, but if you keep at it and build that rapport, you can get back into it, and all is forgiven, sort of thing. So let's go into like the little bit of the specific jobs that you've performed as a stagehand.
Okay.
So being a stagehand encapsulates a couple different responsibilities that you might be doing for the actual performance. So first off, how long do these does a show usually take? Was it like a week?
That usually depends on the artist. So sometimes we'll have artists come in like for only a day or two, so it'll be a quick in, quick out. Other times we'll have artists that will stay for a week, maybe do a couple shows in between, and then they leave out, and we'll do the out for that. Or we'll just have that's pretty much it, honestly. Like, scheduling wise, you're only gonna either see an artist for a couple days, or they're gonna be here for a week tour, and that's about it. They usually don't stay longer than that.
And first thing is first, you're always going to be unloading?
Of course, you're always gonna be
Okay.
unloading.
And when do they decide where to put you after that?
I think it mainly comes down to honestly, it doesn't. It's never made sense to me how they choose to pick the groups they pick with. I think they mainly go off of. I think I've noticed this because of my time working in the union, but I think they mainly base it off of who you work best with and if the people that you're working with are gonna get the job done the fastest. Because I've noticed like when I first started out, I was working with very oddball crews, like not the same people. I'd constantly be getting switched in and out, and then like
And
more
then you
as I
find
got
your groove.
yeah, more when I got more established and built a better rapport, and I've made more contacts and friends and other such things through the union. I think my call steward started noticing who does he work with the best. So let me put these guys in. Like it doesn't matter what we do, because as long as we get it done fast and efficient, that's all they really care about. So they're not too big on like, what is his technical know-how? Does he know what this is? Does he know what that is? Because that's all going to be learned in the process. They're mainly trying to get you to be as efficient and effective as possible, and with people that you can communicate well with.
Okay. So let's talk about lighting. So you're told, Isaiah, we want you to do lighting for this. How do you do it? Where do you go? And what are you physically doing?
So they'll pull you aside. They'll be like, Isaiah, come here, or so and so come over here. They'll drop you off with the roadie, which is the crew that travels with the tour and the artist itself. So your main point of contact for the rest of the day will not be anybody from the union itself. It will be with the road crew. So once you get put with the road crew, that's your guy. That's your boss. You listen to him. Whatever you say is gospel. So, and then from there, you get to learn more about your position.
So what is the position? So lighting.
So you have lighting, you'll have AV, you'll have carpentry team, which is like the stage hand, the step builders. You'll have production, you'll have rig, and electrics. So like house wiring and all that. So basically making sure power gets back to the important consoles and terminals that they need to.
So let's break down lighting a little bit more. If you're doing lighting, what are you doing?
So we'll start out on the bare floor, and we'll have we call them pushers, the people that are offloading the truck. The pushers will bring in all of our equipment, and we'll basically start setting it up. So the first thing that usually get built will be our truss system, because that's where all of our lighting devices will go onto. That's where our cabling will run off of and go down to our terminals and connections. So your first part is probably setting up like a 20 to 40 feet long truss, and that's going to be your structure that you're building off of. And then once that all gets assembled, because you're using all these truss have like these connection points, and then you put in like pretty much a so you'll put in like a pen. It's like a big metal thing. It literally looks like a pen or like a big metal crayon. You'll stuff it through the hole, and then you'll put a little R clip through it, and that'll keep it secure. That's how the truss won't have any issues when it gets flown out. It'll stay all together. It'll be rigid. It'll be structural. So once you get that up, we basically get in contact with the riggers, so we can tell them, hey, pull it up a little bit, because once we get it up, we're allowed to put on our lighting equipment and our cabling at that point.
So when you're doing lighting, all that means is you're not manning the lights like during the performance. You're just setting them up.
You can sometimes. Depending on like if you get real comfortable with your roadies will show you everything, which is what I've come to learn. Because roadies, just like you in this industry, had to start from somewhere, and they started from scratch. So they're always, as long as you show that you have initiative to want to learn more about it, they will show you as much as they can within the time frame you got.
Gotcha.
You'll get a lot of like quick mentors in this type of position.
So get in good with the roadies.
Of course.
Make a good impression on the roadies, and you might find yourself with better responsibilities, more interesting responsibilities.
Well, the thing is, you can also turn that, like, I've had roadies offer me work to go work with them on the road. They're like, hey man, like, I love your work ethic and I love working with you.
You turned them down?
I didn't turn them down because like it was just I was in my hot season. I can't leave out at the time. Like I was already making good enough money. It just didn't make sense for me to like leave in that position.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So he'll call me up every like Sunday, like, hey, let me give you my rundown of what I did this week. And so like he offered me a job last night, and I was like, I might have to take you up on that, because he was talking about there might be going international next year, and that might be something I'm interested in.
Oh man, that would be crazy. What did you talk pay at all?
He said he was getting paid. Oof. Yeah, he said he was getting paid $1,100 a week. So that adds up to like 4,400 a month, I believe.
Not too bad.
Not too shabby either.
Not-
And he
not
said,
too
and
shabby.
that's not also accounting for, like he says, I also get paid overtime too. And we have a break coming up, so I'll be back in town, so I can see you too, my guy. And then like he said, after like I think he said he takes in a 3-week break, he's immediately going to the West Coast, Colorado, California, and then up to Ontario and Canada. And then he's thinking, and then he said they're thinking about after doing our last like couple U.S. tours, they're talking about going international. So that could include the UK, Jamaica, wherever else such.
Wow, very neat. So that's pretty cool to hear. And I want to talk a little bit more about the actual roles on these productions.
Okay.
So that's like a good example of where this stuff can take you. Is you get in good with the roadies, you make some friends, all of a sudden this position opens up, kind of crazy, and that's just a testament to how just picking up the phone, hey man, you got work for me, how that can lead to a full-on career is pretty impressive. But back to like working on an actual event. You said you got to Spotlight recently.
Oh yeah. So this was back when Little Uzi came into town. I believe he came in sometime around October, November, and like I said, yeah. My on-site stu came up to me and said, "Would you like to work Spotlight?" I told him, "Hell yes! Like you don't need nobody else. Like keep me here all day." He said, "All right, I'm gonna have you come back at 8 o'clock. Just make sure you're here on time." Got there on time. Talked to our lighting guy, our house lighting guy, because there's always gonna be 3 in-house positions. You're gonna have your on-site stu, basically on-site manager. You're gonna have your house electric who controls the power and everything, making sure that the guys who come can properly plug into their systems into our power. And then you have our in-house rigger who knows the floor space and who knows how to get this stuff properly up, where it's supposed to go, and et cetera, et cetera. So those 3 in-house guys are pretty much who you will see more than often at these places.
Okay, so you're doing Spotlight. Do you get taken up to like a control room?
You get taken up. So for the venue I was working at, they take you up to this catwalk that overlooks the stage, and then we had 2 spotlight systems that they wanted to use for the show itself. And they'll put you into, they'll get you on these headsets and these mics. They'll be like, Spotlight 1, report in. Spotlight 2, report in. Cool. Show will start in 10 minutes. Till then, stand by. Show starting. First cue. Here we go. Make sure it's on the DJ. 3, 2, 1. Spot.
And they're all electronically controlled, so you're pressing buttons.
No, these are actually the more old school. So you actually have an iris and
Okay, so
ability
you're
to
doing
focus.
it by hand.
Yes, I'm doing it completely by. It's not that terribly difficult once because like I will say I was intimidated by it because a lot of people before me had got the opportunity to work Spot and they made it sound a very much so as a difficult position. But once you get up there, once you realize how your iris shuts and closes, once you realize how to turn on and off your light and how to get certain color grades that they want for certain parts of the show, like give us pink, or give us red, go back to white, or just go back to base.
So when you're working Spotlight, you said some of the commands they'll say was like change to pink.
Yeah, change.
And then
So
you press like a button and.
not necessarily buttons. So they have these gel filters that will when light passes through, it will give off a certain hue of the light at that point. So pre-hand before show, they'll go up to these old school lighting systems. They'll pull them up, pull out whatever gel they have in there, throw in the gel that they want. And then for that show, I believe we had 4 gel cues, but we only ended up using 2 because sometimes mid-show they'll cut things out, or if like the artist is not necessarily in the spot they want him in, they won't use it at that point.
And so, for anyone that hasn't seen it, a gel is like a sheet of plastic that is a certain color.
Yes.
It's basically like a piece of translucent paper that is like green or blue, and it's like a filter that you can see through it. It's like a big piece of plastic, and you put it in front of the light, and it changes the color, right?
Yeah.
And then so the iris. So is that adjusting the exposure? Is that adjusting?
Yeah,
the
adjusting the
brightness?
exposure, how much brightness you got going out. So, and
So
they
how
also
is that controlled like on a dial?
not a dial, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's like a long lever. So like the more you go towards yourself, the brighter the aspect. The more you go away, the duller the aspect, I believe. And then they also have So they also want a specific shape too, and that with these old systems, it's not very complicated, but they want it to like say like, oh, like you're too much on the artist, because they during the show they don't want to show too much of the bottom half of the artist. They just want to show the top half. So like say you're just coming in with too much of a big shape, they'll tell you, oh, like come out,
Like tighten it up.
yeah, tighten it up a little bit, or like go looser a little bit more. So they'll give those call outs and show like if they see an issue with that. Because I remember I had a couple issues where he's like, like you're tighten up your iris a lot more. And I said, okay. And it was a
So
little simple.
so when you're pointing this thing, you're doing it by hand. And
Yeah.
You're trying to stay on the top half of the artist.
Imagine if you played the game Halo, basically having one of those big rocket launchers on your like shoulder. It's pretty much that thing, because you got to like handle it like this. I felt like the Master Chief when I was up
Spartan
there.
laser?
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
And
That's
Lose
cool.
your vert with my Spartan laser, man. That's awesome.
And that's well. So you did it for Lil Uzi?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Okay. But so he's bouncing around. Is it like? Is it tough?
He's a bouncy boy. Let me tell you something. He is a bouncy boy through and through. That man is energetic, and I loved it because with me being a very like energetic person as well, like I was just able to keep up with him. Like this dude would run across the stage. I'm like, and wherever he's going, I'm following. It was just
So that's pretty exhausting though. If he's like running around, you're like you're trying to catch up with him and like stay on him.
If you get to the points like where you're getting too exhausted, we'll do like switch outs, because like they don't always need both spotlights directly on them. Like sometimes like, oh, we're only going to need like spotlight 1 for this next set, so just spotlight 2, hang back. There's a lot of standby time that you'll get, like a lot, well, I won't say free time, but like just time in between to where you're not doing a lot of strenuous work.
Gotcha. Wow. So spotlighting is one thing you've done. You said there was carpentry, there was building the lighting trusts. Is there any other type of work you can think of that is like something you can break down for people that are?
One thing you guys are gonna have to get used to in this industry, and it's probably the worst job, is you're gonna have to do something we call cable runs. And cable runs are a vital necessity for the industry, because this is how you're powering the entire show, the video wall, the lights, cameras, whatever else such you got going on. So, and you're gonna be running like big power cables, which like weigh anywhere between 50 to 100 pounds, and they're like 200 feet long. So you're gonna be running out these big, long connection cables, and this is all for like the electrics. When you are working on those sets, this is all for electrics. So it's a gruel. It's one of the worst things I hate about the industry, but it's something that, I've grown to become accustomed to, and just, fight off like whatever like issues I have with it, because you got to get it done. Exactly.
Very cool. And that is like one of the more challenging things you can do. Like
More physically challenging. I wouldn't say like mental aspect. Like when I say challenging, I mean this job tests your body as well as your mind. And the instances in where it tests your body, you're gonna have to be really ready for your body to get tested. And those are one of the instances that I can automatically think like first day, because when it comes to, not to like get ahead of you or anything, but when you're doing the out, all that stuff has to come back down. So you're gonna have to run, and you might have been on carp team early in the morning, but your carpenter, Brody, just left. Like you don't have a guy, so you got to go fall in with a different group. So usually they'll have you fall in and do like stuff like cable runs, where you have to run all these cables back into their boxes so they can get shipped out in whatever city they're on to next.
So what have your experiences with roadies been like? Have they been pretty on the ball, like really on top of things, or are they like? It varies between who comes in.
It's a mixed bag, brother. It is a completely mixed bag. Sometimes you will get guys who are absolutely and positively 100% cream of the crop. They've been here long enough. They have experience. They know what they're doing, and they'll treat you with your level of experience. And it's all very like tough love situation. Like whatever information you're gonna get, it's gonna come out not in the best of flavor, because these guys aren't communication specialists. They're laborers, so they're gonna speak in a direct manner, and if that's something that offends you, you got to be really careful with wanting to get into this industry.
So they're like no nonsense.
Oh yes, completely no nonsense. But you get cracks every now and then. Like you'll tell a joke, they'll laugh, and they're like, all right, and then you guys become a little bit more buddy. I guess it all depends on how you yourself as a person carry your character, and how much you're willing to put in the work for them at that time when they're there.
And that's an important thing to expand upon is like if you're new to the industry, what will help you get by and get up in the industry is by just generally being a likable person. As weird as that sounds, just be a well-rounded, balanced, positive
Individual.
person. Have a good sense of humor. Don't be afraid to you said you crack jokes with them. Because that's what'll help you in the long run. I mean, the actual knowledge itself is something that you will pick up over the course of your time working on this stuff. But more important than anything, as long as you have a good head on your shoulders and are socializing properly, signal to people that you're a capable person, you can do your job, and have your heart's in the right place. It seems like all that knowledge will come pretty easily, right? So if somebody wanted to read more online, what website would be a good one to check out?
I would suggest that they go to www.iatse5.com.
IATSE5.com.
And you want to put in a request for work. It's not on the front page. There'll be a little 3-bar tab that you'll see at the top of the page. Click on that, and then you'll be able to request work from there. And we also have our, I don't know if they do this different in other unions, but we also keep our schedule on there. So for calls that you could potentially get, you can check on the schedule, and you can also text Kevin if you can work that possible call too.
Well, I think that covers everything. Isaiah, thank you, man.
Brody, thank you for having me.
Thank you for this discussion. You've helped a lot of people out. This is going to be a really good educational resource. So thanks for coming in. Thanks for watching this. This has been Real Talk. Hopefully we can do some more of these in the future. But yeah, you guys have a good one.